Hi, this is Valerie Weiss, and you're listening to SyFy Sistas.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the SyFy Sistas podcast, where we give you our point of view. I'm Tamia Harper, and today I'm joined by my sisters, Sabrina Wood
Whoop whoop.
and Fran T.
What's happening?
What's happening, Fran? Oh, I missed that catchphrase. I love hearing it. Because what's happening is that what, y'all, yet another great show with yet another fantastic, awesome guest that we are super stoked to have here with us. We have come to admire this woman's work. And I'm telling you, like, she's directed some of my favorite episodes and some of my favorite TV shows and in film. She's done, I know you guys watched Mixtape on Netflix. And there's a beautiful film that she did called The Archer and A Light Beneath Their Feet, which I really want to talk about because that was very widely acclaimed. And you know, some of my favorite shows like Chicago Med or The Librarians or
Yeah.
Suits or Bull or Scandal or How to
Yes.
Get Away with Murder. I know, right? Sabrina's having a heart attack over there. Why Women Kill, one of my newest favorite shows,
Whoa.
Leverage
Oh, yeah,
Redemption.
wow.
Leverage Redemption, because I'm a huge Leverage fan. Basically, you put me in a Dean Devlin show and I'm good to go. And then the upcoming NCIS Tony and Ziva, which I'm super stoked for, because I was always a Tony and Ziva shipper my whole time. And more importantly to us Trekkies, she has done two of our favorite episodes of Strange New Worlds, which are quickly becoming some of our favorite episodes of Trek, period. She directed Ad Astra per Aspera. I think I pronounced that really badly, but
You got it. It was right.
yay! And the Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail, our newest iteration of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. We are talking about scientist turned director, Miss Valerie Weiss. Hello, welcome to the show.
Woo-hoo.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we
So
are
happy
we
to
are
be
like
here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
bowing down, as Yvette said, two of the instant Star Trek instant
Yes.
classics.
Mhm.
Thank
I'm-
you so much. Thank you. I feel so grateful I get to do such great shows. So thank you. Thank you. I love getting to talk about it.
There's gotta be a reason
We're,
why.
we're so excited to have you here with us because we're starting the Star Trek world because that's our main fan base of people. Our main listeners are Trekkies. Like we are grounded and based and founded in Trek, even though we do all sorts of sci-fi and fantasy. But let's get it out of the way because I have other stuff. We have other stuff we want to talk to you
Yes,
about
yes,
too.
yes.
That's equally as important as Star Trek. But first of all, I mean, how lucky, like literally two of the episodes that people said instantly, these are classics. I will forever be rewatching these episodes. You got to direct. I mean, did you get a sense of it like when you were directing, like this is really, really good?
I did. I was new to the camp. I'd never done any Star Trek. In fact, I actually had never even watched Star Trek before I
Wow.
had my
Oh.
interview, which is
Wow.
kind of crazy. Crazy for me because now that I've discovered it, I love it. I don't know why I'd never seen it because
There you
it's
go.
right up my
Yay.
alley. And so, but I think it was kind of fated to be that I would find this show and get to be a part of it. So yeah, I interviewed my friend Benji Bakshi, who's the DP I worked with on both episodes. I'd actually worked with him twice before on other shows, which is
Okay.
crazy because in TV you're never working with the same DP.
Mm.
And he had suggested me. He said they were looking for directors. He suggested me, and he said, "Do you want to direct an episode of a new Star Trek show?" And I was like, that sounds fun. Like I don't know, I don't know what that is, but sure. So I did a deep dive for the interview. You know, the only exposure I'd had to Star Trek was that Michael J. Pollard, who's an actor who was nominated for a supporting role in Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde, yeah.
Yep.
He was my upstairs neighbor when I used to live in Park La Brea. He was on the top floor, and I met him in the elevator, and he was a friend. He was a friend of our families. We would hang out with him, and we watched his Star Trek episode
Miri.
because, we knew him. And so that was my first intro to Star Trek.
Wow.
And it was
Bonk on the head.
right. And so, so the original series was my introduction, and it's so up my alley. That kind of, way to use story to probe intellectual, psychological, cultural ideas so spoke to me as a scientist, as a director. It really is why I became a filmmaker. It's why I became a scientist first and then a filmmaker, is to try to go as deep as I can in this one life that we live on Earth to understand it, right? What makes us tick? Why do we do what we do? Why do we get along sometimes and not other times? And, I always try to see the best in people. And my first thought is never to think someone is bad. It's to think, well, what's the circumstance? What's the misunderstanding? And so science helped me do that. And that's how I approach storytelling. Even my villains, I always try to understand where they're coming from and what shaped them. And so discovering Star Trek was so exciting to me because it did that on a large scale. It did that, in terms of thinking about worlds and the other and whatnot. So I was sucked in immediately. And then when I got hired, I was like, really? Like, I get to do this? This is so cool. I didn't even know this existed. And then I get to do it. And then I got my episode, and they had said to me it would be a Rebecca heavy episode, which I was so excited about because I'd worked with her on The Librarian. Loved her.
Yeah.
And that it was a courtroom episode, which I was excited about because I'd done Suits and Bull and Bull and and so I was like, okay, this is exciting. And what I didn't know at the time was that there was this whole lineage of courtroom drama in the Trek world. And so I did a really deep dive and watched all of them. And I asked the writers, which ones informed you. And it was so exciting. And I actually think, for me, I actually love that I wasn't super familiar with this world coming in, because I think I come in with a clear, objective view, right?
Yeah.
I'm not just trying to make another Trek or be super Trekky about it. I'm looking at the human story and who are these characters and what is the theme, and observing the world like a scientist and taking it as a newbie, right? And as a director, I think my job is always to see the work through the audience's eyes, not be so familiar that I don't always stay a little distant and experience it like they do. Because if there's a script problem as a director, I want to pick up on that and solve it before the audience is like, wait, that didn't make sense. And so I think that distance actually helped make it such a good episode, because I was coming at it with fresh eyes instead of like inside baseball. And so it was really exciting to go deep and, pick up details from past episodes, like the chair that the witness stand was, where they put their, I'd asked for that because I saw that in one of the episodes, and Jonathan Lee, our brilliant production designer, he's like, yeah, we can make that. And
I love it. I love it. 'Cause we all recognized it. It was like, don't perjure yourself. That thing's gonna go off.
That's so
and like
great.
really quickly, like I just want to say, like I think that's a beautiful way of approaching it, like from being on the outsider, because some of our best and most memorable and most classic and most beloved Trek came from people who were not inside the world, like The Wrath of Khan, for instance. That movie is arguably like the best Trek movie. Like a lot of people cite The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek II, as their favorite Star Trek movie, from a director who had never done any Star Trek and hadn't seen any Star Trek before, with Ricardo Montalban, so I think it's really, what you're saying is so true sometimes, that it's healthy to have this sort of broader approach, more distanced approach, to be able, so you can really see, the unmitigated like goings on,
I appreciate you saying that. And I feel the same way. I mean, some of my favorite directors are Sidney Lumet and Sidney Pollack, who,
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
they've done
wow.
such a diverse body of work in different world building scenarios, but it's always about human behavior,
Mm-hmm.
finely observed human behavior. And that's where I always start as a director. How can we get deeper and deeper into these characters and why they do what they do? And for instance, in Ad Astra per Aspera, it was really fun for me to look at Una versus Nira Khatul, her lawyer,
Right.
who was
Yes.
her best friend. And I had dinner with them. I knew Rebecca, but I didn't know Yetide. And I was like,
Mhm.
ladies, can we go have dinner? Just get to know each other. We didn't even talk about the show. And it was like, I needed to know them so I could understand what kind of friendship they might have had. And then we always talked about it from the friendship, like those
Yeah.
traumas of little girls breaking up. I mean, we're all women here. We all know
Mhm.
how
Right.
painful it is when you lose a
Yes.
friend as a kid. Like it stays with
Yes.
you forever. And so we talked about what sleepovers might have been like when they were little and created like, false, like fake scenarios that were very probable that they could have had in their experience. And so that's for me in that specificity is how we find the universal. And that's what's beautiful about Star Trek is it tells universal stories about very specific characters, people, aliens, things that don't really exist, but because they're so finely observed, they feel universal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's brilliantly said. Yeah. Go ahead, Sabrina.
Yeah, I thought that the two episodes that you did was so different. Yet in both of them, at the end, we're cheering and we're having this emotional reaction, in both of them. And I thought it was amazing how you managed to, in one that had just a lot of dialogue and a lot of ideas. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on in that one. You still managed to get the character development. And in the one with, bombs exploding and things are going off and, when the cells are coming apart, oh my God.
Mhm.
You still, again, managed to get down to that nitty gritty. What, how did you do that?
Thank you for asking. That is such a compliment. What's fun about this show is that they cast directors, like they are very thoughtful about who they pick to direct each episode. And so I find it hugely complimentary that these were the two episodes I've been asked to do, because I think there is something that they have in common in that
Mm,
they're very much about the character development of a protagonist in the show, an important
Mm-hmm.
protagonist, and they're very much about empathy
Mhm.
and feeling for others. And that is, like we talked about, what drove me even to get into science and subsequently film. And so I feel very lucky that I've gotten in both cases to work very closely with the stars of the episodes. So Rebecca was so down to go deep with me and talk about it and rehearse it, and with Yetide as well to rehearse. And with the courtroom scene, we worked out, it was actually during COVID, so it was even harder. So we
mm,
worked out all the blocking in that circular courtroom in advance. And so
Mm.
I thought about it a lot with my DP, Benji, because we came up with rules about each character and their relationship to the camera. So if you rewatch that, you'll notice Rebecca's character, Una, is always hidden by something. We don't see
Mm.
her without a table in front of her or something cutting her off, or the door and the door closes, you just see
yeah.
her eyes. We don't see that until she takes the witness stand and she
Oh
finally
yeah.
tells her story. And then you
Yeah.
finally see her for who she is. She's no longer hiding.
Yeah.
A rule we had with her. And then with Yetide's character, Nira, she's got something to prove. She's changing things. So she's always pushing the camera. So if you watch her blocking, she's taking these long walks in that courtroom
Mm-hmm.
and pushing the camera. And so we developed these rules that visually were all about character, and we stuck to them. We were so strict. And so we'd come up with a cool shot and we'd be like, no, we can't do it because it doesn't fit the rules, but it pays
Mm.
because you feel it. And then in
Yeah.
the case with Paul Wesley, who plays Kirk, he's so
Hmm.
lovely. And he wasn't in my first episode, and he's not in every episode, and I don't direct every episode. So I think we both felt like we're the guests, right?
Right, right.
Okay. And so we had brunch in Malibu like a month before I shot. I called him up and said, do you want to talk? Because this is a really big episode. And he's like, yeah, it's a really big episode. Like we were both so nervous. We had so much that we needed to prove, and do it right. And it was so great, just getting to know him. And he mentioned David A. Goodman's autobiography of James T. Kirk, the book that David wrote, and which is great for me because, again, I was still a newbie to Trek. And he said, I think you should read this. It was helpful to me. And I did. And it helped me not only understand Kirk, but understand Paul's perception of Kirk. And so, having that relationship with Paul, and then Paul was great. He was so willing to rehearse. When we got up to Toronto, we rehearsed with Ethan, who plays Spock. We rehearsed, I don't know if we had time to rehearse with Anson, but we worked out a lot of the blocking before the day of the shoot. That scene where he's transformed after talking to Spock, and he comes on back onto the bridge, and everyone's in the back of the bridge, and he's suddenly ready to listen. We rehearsed that. I don't think the other actors were available, but I went with him and my DP, and I talked him through what I wanted to do so that he could feel it and own it. And those were some of the pivotal scenes that were meant to feel like TOS, which is why I set that in the back of the bridge, because everyone at their station, it just felt so much more like, nostalgic Trek to me. And so, having that partner, and, I don't know if this was as helpful for Paul, but it is how I work. I made a graph, and I did this. You mentioned my movie, A Light Beneath Our Feet. I did this on that movie too, but I really like to graph a character's journey, like literally on graph paper. And so I graphed his journey to becoming a leader, from someone who was all ego and, and brash and not ready to take responsibility. In fact, blaming everybody else.
Right.
Becoming a leader, and what was being measured on the y-axis is taking responsibility. So the more he would actually take responsibility, the better he became as a leader. And so I tracked this because it's never just one straight line. It's down, right? And that's what makes the episode cool, is like one step forward, two steps backward.
Right.
Life, right? It's coming of age. And I direct a ton of coming of age stories. And so I had that worked out for me. And so I always knew where I wanted him to be in his arc in every scene. So I was always able to help direct him to be a little less sure of himself, or a little bit more brash. And he was wonderful, because he really relied on me and let me take care of that part of the story and support him that way. And I mean, he's just the loveliest guy. I had so much fun,
You could see it on his face in the acting, where he was like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about, and I know what I want you to do. And then he was like, I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I'm not sure.
That
And
vulnerability was so important to me, to us, because that's not the side of Kirk that we're familiar with. That's the interesting side. And how do you become that other Kirk? Well, you have to fail a lot. And if he's really human, he's going to have more vulnerability. He's going to know when he's not up to snuff. And that feels awful. And so I wanted to just show that journey, because it's a really cool journey.
I thought that was what, I'm sorry, go ahead, Fran.
And it's the first time we see him in the captains actually being a captain.
Spock says it first, Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk, because, the other guy was confused and all, it's captain.
Yeah, Scotty was like, what do I call you? Acting captain? Sure.
This captain. So I thought that was very important, because, like you mentioned TOS, and like, okay, we know him from TOS, but this is before TOS. He's actually sitting in a chair, and he has to go from A, B, C, D, all the way almost to Z, being in the captain's chair.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I know how intimidating it must be to try to take on a project that, not only that like the canon is so important. You're literally talking about an American cultural institution, right? And especially TOS Institute, like the series that started it all, is so baked into our cultural vocabulary as who we are as Americans, and not only to get that, but then to get, now you're going to have this character who is the icon, of the whole institution, and you got to play with them. Like I know, I mean, I'm assuming that you both must have felt so much trepidation, but maybe excitement too. But it's huge, and I think that you really were so successful because this particular iteration of Kirk is one of my favorites that
Yeah,
I've
he
ever
is.
seen.
He is.
And I don't care what, and I will die on this hill. Like, I don't care what any OG Trekkie might disagree with me or not, but I thought it was absolutely fascinating and wonderful to see the development of Kirk and to see him as the inexperienced leader, learning to become, like you said, learning to become the guy that we know later, like who is so brash. I thought this was one of the most nuanced Kirks I had ever gotten a chance to see, and I'm in love with it. I love it.
It was
Thank
great.
you so
I,
much.
I have a deep question.
Well,
You know
Yeah.
me. I wanted to know, did you go back? And I know you said that Akiva Goldsman told you to go look into the nostalgia. You read the autobiography, but did you happen to watch the TOS episode called Obsession?
I
Where,
did.
oh, I
Did.
know it. I
I
know
think
you
I did
did.
because I think I made notes about it, and you'll have to forgive me because it's over a year ago since I
No,
directed
that's
it. But I'm gonna
fine. That's fine.
Oh,
watch it.
okay,
The
okay.
only thing I wanted to point out in that one, and I love that it was in there and it was in that line. I don't know whether it was because of the writer or you, is when Paul Wesley was just really freaking out and they said to Spock, somebody with less emotional needs to go in there and talk to him. And they all look at Spock, and Spock goes in to Kirk and he's playing the 3D chessboard. And he says, basically, Spock tells him to trust his intuition. And I love that Spock is the one that's telling Kirk to trust his intuition. And then we go forward, or however you want to say it, backwards to Obsession, where Kirk is telling Spock 11 years later, trust me. Again, they were about to take him out of the captain's chair, just like they were going to take him out of the captain's chair in this episode. They were about to take him out of the captain's chair in Obsession. And Kirk
Yes.
says, I'm going to trust, I'm going on intuition. And Spock just looks at him and says, well, that's a recognized captain's prerogative. And I'm like, yeah, because you told him first, fool. So I love the whole circle of those two episodes. I was like, I am here for all of this.
Oh, that's great. Well, Bill Wolkoff and David Reed, who co-wrote the episode, are just brilliant. They're such incredible writers. And Bill was on set with me. David was, I think, involved with the Boys spinoff at the time, so he couldn't be on set. But Bill is such a diehard Star Trek fan. Like, he knows everything. And so to have him by my side at all times, oozing the love of this property and the knowledge, it was amazing. And we did have lunch early on, and he referenced several episodes for me. I'm sure he referenced Obsession and several other ones. And, then I found ones that I thought resonated with this. And I mean, so lucky. And so many people who work on it love Star Trek. Our gaffer, actually, Dan, he's like the biggest
gaffer. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's the biggest font of knowledge. I remember my
That's
first
awesome.
season, the first episode I did, we were, on stage, and I was like trying to block it, and I was wondering about something, and I was like, I wonder if they ever do this on Star Trek. And Dan's like, yes, you can do that because blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, great.
That's so cool. I love that. I was wondering, like, okay, and I know that this is a really, like, I mean, this is a total layman's question, so hopefully it's not too broad. But like, so in Ad Astra, I noticed it seemed like there's a lot of the shots are a lot of focus, like more portraiture almost, and they're very focused on that one individual at a time. Or if it's a group shot, it's a very composed, diagram group shot that like came out. And then like in this episode, there's a lot more action, there's a lot more swooping, there's a lot more following around. Like when you get the story, can you talk about how the tone of the story sort of impacts those directing decisions that you make and what you're seeing in your head?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is not too broad. That is not a layman's question. That is a very astute question. and basically the essence of directing. And it's something I have to think about and tackle every project I do. And it's interesting that you point that out, that within the same show, I took very different approaches to the two episodes. And I think, if I'm going to start with the Star Trek first, I think because that was so, it's interesting because the courtroom episode there's no action. There's not a lot of blocking that can even happen, right? The camera can only do so much if the actors aren't moving. And so it was these rules that we came up with that really helped determine the composition and the framing. And so that is what drove it. So it could be a lot more composed. Generally as a director, like I mentioned, the Sidney Pollack, Sidney Lumet school of directing, which is so natural. It's such naturalism and it's so organic. Like Dog Day Afternoon is one of my favorite movies. Tootsie is one of my favorite movies. And so I love how these characters who are larger than life just feel so real. Like you don't question them. And so left to my own devices, I do tend to embrace that style of filmmaking and directing that's a lot of times more handheld or more organic or a little messier, because it just feels more real and we buy in. And so this episode, certainly with the action, allowed more of that to happen. And also, with these scavengers, we didn't want anyone to guess that they were human. And so I wanted to see what I could do with the camera to obscure it. It was darker, the camera moved more. We didn't stay on them very long. We used a long lens when they were far away. And so that was, informing the tone. But then I also had this TOS aspect of the second episode, which was very limited by the available technology. Like you didn't have handheld cameras back then, and everything was heavy, and it, the framing would change because someone would walk closer to the camera or further away. And so I wanted to sort of adopt as much of that as I could for the episode, so you would feel the TOS-iness of it. And so that was driving tone. And I was aware that I had two very different movies essentially that I was marrying on two different ships, and I never wanted the audience to be confused if they were on Farragut or Enterprise. I was actually really worried about it. I made a note. And so that was one of the ways to distinguish it, to be a little more loose and fluid and handheld on the Enterprise journey, and then on the Farragut to be just a little more traditional, old-fashioned filmmaking with how I was capturing that. And then
I was never confused.
What's that?
I mean
I was never confused with ship you
were. Yeah, you did a really good job. That was very clear. It was awesome.
I'm so happy because it was the same set. I mean, it literally, could have been a mess. It could have been
and both ships were a mess, so you didn't really
exactly right. They're both damaged, and like keeping track of who went to which ship.
Right.
That was something I really had to catalog and be very mindful of. So
it was great. It was great. I was just terrified the whole time.
Fran, before I move on to other stuff, do you have another question you want to?
Not about Trek. I don't. No. I just think you did a marvelous job. Because as we all know, when he was swagger. When it first came. He was with his swagger trying to tell the captain, well, look, I think I said, okay, that's Kirk. Look at him. So, from the swagger to the breakdown to the comeback, it was excellent. Thank you.
I'll tell Paul you said so. I'll make sure.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Because I like, he's, let's face it, those are some huge shoes to fill. Okay. And I liked him when they first introduced him. I'm like, okay, it's not, he's not, he's not Shatner. He's Paul, and he's playing this guy. And I liked him from the beginning. I did. I liked the way he played the character.
That's great.
Because we had to realize that, the Kirk we saw was like, in his 30s or whatever. Yeah. But the one we saw there, and his brother was on the ship, and they was, I'm like, oh, I like this guy. I really like this guy.
That's
great. And then when he played with when they went to was he in Vancouver? Vancouver on the time thing, and the lady
Oh
fell in
yeah,
love with him and all that. I
Leon.
like that one.
Uh-huh.
It was just so. I think he's filling those shoes very well.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. I agree with you. He's got a
And,
big heart as a person and a
Does
strong
he?
intellect.
Oh,
And
and I love that little triangle, undercurrent that Spock and Kirk were having with Leon. I was like, okay, I'm seeing all of
uh-huh.
that. I'm seeing
Okay.
all of that side eye going
Mhm.
on here. What?
So, okay, but real quick before we leave that altogether, I mean, we'll never leave it altogether, but
No,
I
always
like
come back.
it has been noted that it seems like there's an Easter egg inside the big what are those guys called?
Scavenger.
The scavenger ship,
Mhm.
that there might be a TARDIS inside
The
there.
TARDIS. There
Is that
is.
there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. How did
I've
that
watched
come
it
about?
3 times. I still haven't found it yet.
Oh,
I haven't
really?
seen it either.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was scripted or not. It wasn't my idea. I don't know if it was Bill's or the show's. Again, it's been a while. I should go back and ask him, but it was definitely a fun Easter egg that
Oh, that's
they
so
did.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, really? There's a time. Like, I've got to go back and watch. And I even had a timestamp. Like, she gave us a timestamp. Like, it's like at 11 minutes and 30 seconds, and I still can't find
Well,
it. I still miss it.
I'll tell you why you can't find it, because you get so into the story, you forget you're looking
Well,
for the
this is
TARDIS.
true.
Looking
This
for
is true.
something. Yeah.
This is true because I have watched it multiple times now. I mean, I watched it on the screeners several times, and then have watched it since it aired also a couple of times again. So, you know,
Great. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank
good
you.
storytelling is good storytelling. You can't like I don't care about Easter eggs when there's good storytelling around.
Great. Thank you. Thank
I mean, I
you.
do. So, I mean, I think I wanted to transition to this other part of your story because it's kind of near and dear to our hearts because it's very reflective of Sister Sabrina over there. The fact that you are an adult. So Sabrina's story, I mean, well, Sabrina, you can tell your own story, but like she had a career transition too,
Yeah, a
and
sharp one.
What was
So I was a
Sabrina?
CPA for 33 years. Going all the way up to a senior director of a tax department, and then retired and decided I wanted to go to film school,
Oh,
and and become a producer and a screenwriter. So that's what I did. And
amazing.
yeah, and then I read your story, and I mean, undergrad from Princeton, PhD from Harvard, and then like, what happened?
Why am I here now? Well, I think it's just all part of the same journey, to be honest. I was a very curious kid. My mom always says that I asked question after question and she made the mistake of answering them. So I just kept
Mhm.
asking. And I always want to know why. And I don't think in an annoying way, but just it's fascinating. And until you get to that crystallized, like, least common denominator of the answer, like the most used truth, there's more to keep looking for. And so I've always been interested in what is that universal, what is that seed that is the beginning of all of it. And so I also, as a young person was acting. And I think what I loved about acting was, subtext. I would read so many plays on my, while I was in acting class and performing. And I loved subtext, writing what the line really meant, what the character
Really?
was really thinking.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think all of that was just the same part of my personality, like analyzing and wanting to go deep and loving people. I mean, I'm such an extrovert. I love people, and the more people I can know and meet, the happier I am. And so both those things were feeding my soul. And then, when I was in 10th grade, I took this biology class, and my teacher, Mr. Sharambira, who's a huge Star Trek fan. I can't wait till he writes to me on Facebook and says that he watched the last one. But he taught biology like the world's greatest story. I mean, it was really like story
wow.
time. And that was the first time I ever considered science. And I knew to be a director was a very hard path. My parents were very much like, you're going to starve if you're an actor. And that's no small lesson to, let go of
Sure.
as a young person. And so I was like, well, I will, if I go to graduate school and to do a PhD, you actually get paid to do it. And I love science. And so at this time at Princeton, I had gotten a chance to direct a play and I loved it. And I was like, oh, this is what I should be doing, not acting, because I always wanted to tell everyone else what to do, all the other actors. But now I could without anyone hating me. And so I had figured out I wanted to direct. But again, there were no women that I knew. I was from Philadelphia.
Sure.
No one was working that could be a role model for me in any realistic way. I didn't know anybody. And so I was like, well, I love science, and being in an academic setting really was very comfortable for me. So I decided to go to Harvard. And, by day I did my PhD, and at night I started a film program for graduate students, and that was my film school. And I made my first movie while I was writing my dissertation. And then two
Oh my
weeks after
God.
we wrapped, I defended my thesis and could barely remember the big words that I was studying, but I did it. And that was that. And then I was Dr. Valerie and decided to leave it behind to go to Hollywood. And here we are.
Oh my God. I am wearing this t-shirt, Mike's City Sub, because this is the only thing I had that was Boston. I am from Cambridge. I am
Oh,
from Cambridge.
really? Oh,
Yes, and
very
I
cool.
know exactly where Dudley Community is.
Yes, right on the corner where the subway is. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm like, oh my God, this is too incredible. So I had already left Cambridge by the time you were there. But
Oh,
I just said like, oh yeah, I was on Gorham Street, like just like
oh
go
yeah.
past. Right, I had to cut through the yard to get to my house, so we were in the shadow of Harvard all the time. And I went to so many
Yeah.
films. I mean, the Brattle, I
The
know you were
Brattle.
there a million times, right? Right, in the Harvard
Yep, I
Square
lived at the Brattle.
Cinema.
And
Oh,
ART, seeing all the plays
yes,
there too.
yes. I tell you, Cambridge is a great place if you want to love movies. And when I was growing up, there were so many art house theaters in Cambridge and Boston that we were just at these things all the time. That's why I love old movies. There was the
Oh,
Orson Welles, and they was showing like The Awful Truth and all these Cary Grant movies. And I'm like 10 years old,
oh, that's
watching all
funny.
these old movies because I'm running around at Arlington Street Church, and they're showing movies, and they're showing movies at the Harvard, and
Yeah, the
you can
Harvard
go.
Film Archives you have.
Oh, yeah, you're going crazy. And everybody's like, why do you know all these old movies? It's like, because I grew up in Cambridge and Boston, that's why.
Oh, that's amazing. I used to go to Widener Library, and this is
Uh-huh.
the time of VHS tapes, you guys, and you could get them for
Oh,
free,
geez.
as a grad student with no money. And I would take out the max number and I would go home because, I was like the science kid who wanted to be like you. I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I would just watch as much as I could and try to make my own film school out of my, on
And
my
the,
own.
the
And
cool
you
thing,
did.
yeah. So I applaud that. I applaud that amazingly. So what happened when you just decided to go Hollywood?
Yeah, so I moved out here with my now husband, my fiance at the time. We got married 2 months after I did my PhD. He was a lawyer, and I remembered saying to him, "Honey, I have to come out of the professional closet because I don't want to be a scientist. I want to be a director." And he's like, "Oh, that's okay. I totally support you because I want to be an actor." And I was like,
Awesome.
Wow.
"Oh, okay. So you mean emotionally support you emotionally? Okay, now okay, this is a different reality. I thought I would be moving out with my lawyer husband, and we both jumped off a cliff and started over
Yikes.
and got out here, and we were tutoring to pay the bills. I remember I just actually ran into a former student of mine. We used to tutor in Koreatown, and they would call us Val teacher and Rob teacher. Everybody had teacher at the end of their name.
Oh,
And so she recognized me. She's now in her 30s. It's crazy. But so that's how we paid the bills. And then I did the AFI directing workshop for women. And that was my first sci-fi experience. I directed a movie called Transgressions I found on the internet. It was a finalist for the Slam Dance screenplay competition.
Oh, okay. That's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was written by this woman in Luxembourg, Isabel Marinov, who's now a very close friend. She's my daughter's godmother,
Oh,
and she's
wow.
a published author. And yeah, I wrote to her and I said, "Can I direct your movie? It sounds really good." And so I submitted that to AFI. She came out for the shoot, and it was this really interesting. I really love grounded, speculative science fiction. I mean, it's not unlike Star Trek. It's about this alternate world where violence is acceptable, but property damage isn't. And
Mm.
Wow.
and the commodification of human life. And I remember
Wow.
setting it, I had people living in storage units because it was, usually when you have sci-fi and you have, a poor class of people there, it's always like in grungy areas, or you have rich people are in like these McMansion looking thing. But like, where do you have, people who are, below the poverty line, but in this clean place where everything's the same? And I thought, oh, storage units, because they're small and uniform. And so that's where I set this neighborhood. I turned it into a neighborhood. And I thought it's such a great metaphor for people becoming like stuff and us caring more about things and money than, the value of a human life. And it was before Sandy Hook, and there's, people get shot on the street and people just walk over them and keep going. And yeah, it was crazy, but it explored a lot of deep themes that sadly are, coming back to haunt us.
That's one of the questions I want to ask you. I read somewhere where there's transgression, they say was like a Clockwork Orange meets Pleasantville. Pleasantville, and I'm a movie buff like Sabrina, is in my top 10 of movies. It just slipped through, it's like a lot of people have not seen this film, and I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. Okay, I can't describe it to you. You know what I'm talking about. It's like, look at the colored people. Remember I said that, y'all. But do you think is that a great analogy that it like Clockwork Orange meets Pleasantville?
I think it is.
Transgressions? Okay.
Yeah, I think the dean of AFI maybe came up with it for my log line. I was like, oh,
yeah,
because it is. It's like this idea of pretending everything's okay when it's not. And there was a retro quality. Like there's a statement in the story that boys are allowed to harm, but girls can't. Like it had like retro ideas in it, like Pleasantville. And I've always found that very interesting. This idea of like everything's okay on the surface, but the darkness is underneath, which is a theme I love to play with. I love movies that deal with something dark, but with a light touch.
That's what Pleasantville, it's like when it started raining, they had never seen rain before. And you're thinking, then they turn, okay, I can't get off on Pleasantville, but.
You're right. Okay.
It's the fantasy. It's fantasy. And it has a real deep story.
Absolutely. And so I can see why you would like that. And Star Trek, it's the same.
Oh, yeah.
These allegories that shine a light on what's not working in society.
Yeah. I think that's the beautiful thing about the best of genre fiction, and work is that, you're really looking, we're always examining the human condition, right? We're always examining what's going on with ourselves. And the best of it to me is rooted in that character study. Like you said, some of my favorite stuff that is, well, I should say some of my favorite, but I mean, it'll take you that supposition and take it out. Like, I'm just thinking, you guys have me thinking about Parable of the Sower. And if somebody, like, when somebody finally adapts it, like it should have been adapted correctly. Yeah. Like, some years ago that we'll be talking about it in kind of the same way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Writer. I haven't read that. I've read Kindred, which I thought was unbelievable, the book. And I know how much Parable mirrors our society right now, and I need to read it.
Let me tell you, Parable of the Sower, like, well, okay, first of all, Octavia Butler, anything she wrote is amazing, because I really like her Xenogenesis series. Like, she really, when she writes really real hardcore science fiction, she's amazing, because her alien is truly alien.
Really, like
very alien, like concepts that I was like, oh my God, like who thought of this? Like I never would have thought of these concepts for alien before, and her examination of being alien, of being perceived as alien in this world through these alien. I mean, it's just amazing. So I'm a big fan of hers, like whatever she writes. I'm a huge fan of Parable of the Sower, and it's rightly getting its praise, I feel. It's rightly getting its praise now because of how prescient it seems, right? She ardently defended, said, I'm not prescient. I'm just an observant human being who can read the tea
best way to
leaves,
be
y'all.
prescient is to pay attention.
Right? Yeah. She's like, if y'all were paying
It's all
attention
right there
too.
if you look for it.
Right, and of course, she's living in California. California, it always goes through all the shit before the rest of us get it, so like the worries about the environmental worries that she was talking about, back then, that people were telling us we were crazy and we were, so far left if we were talking about like, you need to recycle, or like, how much water are you using today, and like how much electricity does that take, and so she's amazing for that. But I really like the other things that she wrote. I think eventually people are going to start reading those and realize how truly amazing she was.
Well, after this, I want you to send me a book list. I'd love to read your favorite.
As the head of the SyFy Sistas book club, to me, it will do that very thing.
Hello.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's exciting. Okay. Send me all the books.
I will send you all the books. Like, we've got a great book club, and and that's what we focus on is Black and BIPOC authors of science fiction and fantasy, of speculative fiction, and like, so at the top are our queens, Octavia Butler and N.K. Jemisin.
Okay.
Somebody's got you. Oh my God, you got to read. Mae Jemison, the astronaut, right? The first Black woman astronaut is Mae Jemison, and her Dr. Mae Jemison, and so N.K. Jemisin, Nora, is like her niece or cousin or something. But anyway, same family.
Very cool.
And it's Jemisin, and her Broken Earth trilogy. It's amazing. The 3 books she did, what people have never done before. She won the Hugo Award 3 times in a row for each book in that trilogy. Nobody's ever done that before.
Wow.
Every single book in the trilogy won the Hugo Award. If you read the Broken Earth trilogy, I'm like, your mind is going to be blown too. I'm guaranteed. It sounds like it's right up your alley with the type of stuff that you like.
Absolutely. Yeah. Has it ever been adapted into film or television?
Not yet. Not yet.
I'll take a read.
Please take a read. I don't know if has it been optioned yet, Sabrina?
Not even a murmur that I've ever heard about it. It's so crazy how many really great Black sci-fi speculative fiction books just are never optioned. I mean, it's taken us so long to get Children of Blood and Bone out there, and that's a great book, but would you say it's one of the greatest? No. And it's like, that's the one you picked to do? Okay, fine. That's how we're like, good, fine, do it.
Also because it's like those tend to be like the ones that are set in more African traditions tend to be more palatable. It seems like, as opposed to rooting it in an American Black experience, which is really going to make people question themselves. You understand? You know what I mean?
Ooh, this sounds like another podcast, girl.
Yes, it does. After I read it, have me back. Let's discuss.
Okay, so y'all heard that, right? Like, no, for real. Like, we would love to do that. I mean, I would love to get your take on it. Especially I was trying to explain the Broken Earth trilogy to somebody the other day, and I literally could not. Like if I had to create a log line for it, I couldn't.
Complicated.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sabrina, could you create one? No. I'd like, how do I was like,
it's
how do
an
I narrow
incredible
this down?
mother-daughter
Ooh.
discovery of it's just an incredible. I mean, you don't even know what's going on until you get to the second book. You're like, wait, she's who? She's what? She did what?
Really?
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not overly complicated.
No, but it is. It's a pow to your gut. I mean, realizations and twists are just there, and it's like you say, like you it's all there, but you don't see it until something happens, and you're like, she was telling us the whole way through this book what was going on, and then now we finally figuring this out. Like, and it's just like unearths you. You're just like, bam, oh my God. And it
Sounds
just
like
goes on and on for book and book. You're like, wow.
What'd you say, Valerie?
sounds like a perfect TV show with those kinds of revelations. That's
It
great.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna read
And
We
it.
don't know why they can't figure this out.
Yes, I'm telling you, like there's a ecological, environmental element to it. It is the perfect TV show. Like, oh my
Well,
God.
maybe Sinners will open up some stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
You know,
maybe,
the way that it was, it was not like supposed to be as big as it was because of the niche story that it had.
Yeah.
And the way it came from, everything. So now you know how Hollywood is.
Yeah.
Give me a sentence, but make it a book.
Right.
And we'll do a drama series because you got so much streaming stuff on now that it's possibility.
Yeah.
You just don't have to go through to like 5 networks. So it
Yeah.
could be somewhere.
Well, I'm excited to check it out. Thanks for
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm excited for you to check it out. Like, I think definitely let us know.
I'm always jealous of people who haven't read it. Like, what? I wish I could do it again.
I haven't read it.
I highly recommend it. It's one of my all-time favorites, but I think we've spent enough time on that. So, okay. Because I could really go on forever about it. That's why I have a book club, because it's my jam. But I think that one of the things that I wanted to go back to was you talking about like this theme of empathy and how it all works, and like when you make decisions like about the projects that you're going to take on, are there specific themes that you're looking for, or like what really makes the decision for you is that yes, I want to do this, or does it just vary sometimes?
I mean, it depends. I mean, I've done so many different genres. I've done, thriller, comedy, drama. I've done everything. And so it seems like my work is quite disparate, but I think there are several threads that are common throughout. And one is I really like to make something about something, even if it's really entertaining, I really need there to be a deeper, more serious issue. Like my movie, A Light Beneath Their Feet, is about mental illness, and it's about a mother-daughter and not being able to let go of somebody, or is it okay to leave somebody you love, is the theme of that. Even, doing something that's seemingly as light as Outer Banks, what I loved about it was this coming of age story of poor versus rich. And also, these kids, what they were dealing with. JJ has an abusive father who the first scene I ever shot for that show was him coming home proud that he had, gotten money from this thing, and his dad stealing the money and beating his son up to the point where he looks like he wants to kill him. And JJ realizing in his dad's eyes, he actually hates me. Like, it's not just the alcohol, like he actually hates me, which flipped the relationship. And so to do a show that's so beloved by teens around the world that has deeper ideas in it, to me is a dream. I'm about to go do Ginny and Georgia, which is, a show on Netflix that has such a huge fan base. And, I'm a mom of two daughters, teen daughters, and it's so fun for me to get to tell stories that are immediately relevant to my life and shows that I can watch with them. And so I think the coming of age genre, because I really think, Kirk sitting in the captain's chair for the first time is a coming of age story, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like we're always, if we're living life correctly, we're always coming of age. Because if you figured it out, you should be going to the next step. You shouldn't be staying static, because what fun is that? And so we should always be a little off kilter with whatever stage we're at, if we're really taking enough risks and soaking up the marrow of living. And so I really love that genre, and it doesn't have to be teen, but just, people who are trying to get more out of the one life they're given on this earth than what's been handed to them.
I'm writing down that phrase, soaking up the marrow of living. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, right? That's some good stuff right there, right?
If you see that in a script, you know where I stole it from.
Lord. So I saw that, speaking of genres, I saw that you directed How to Get Away with Murder. You directed an episode of that, and Scandal, which is all Shondaland Project.
Yeah.
How was that experience? And if you have anything, can you say whether or not, with a woman being at the helm, female led and everything, did you find the experience different, the same, or what was your take on that?
Ooh, that's a great question. I had a great experience. I did 3 shows for Shondaland. I did the 2 you mentioned and For the People. I loved those experiences. I actually just worked with Scott Foley, who was in Scandal. I just did a show with him,
boy,
like that, where he plays a minister. It's for Amazon. He's really great. And, it was just such a lovely group of people that are so talented. The scripts are excellent. Everybody knows their character. And, is it different having a woman? I mean, what's nice is the characters are so well drawn. Like, not that men don't write characters like that, because they do, but every single character was so multidimensional. And look, I mean, I don't know. I come from a male-dominated profession of science. So moving into directing, I can't say I ever felt, maybe in some rare instances or one-offs, I felt, like it was hard to be a woman. But generally, it didn't feel different than being a scientist to me. But, I
get that.
Yeah, I think in the camp of Shonda, where everyone is working for this incredibly powerful woman, there's nothing but respect for women. And she hires so many female directors. So I think it was just a wonderful place to work.
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's so cool. Like, that's what I was saying, like in the beginning from the top, like reading down the things that you've directed, the shows that you've worked on is like this is just an evening in my TV watching, like so many of the things that I really love, and I'm really excited. Like there was a time in my life when I watched a whole bunch of NCIS and
I did,
because of Tony and Ziva.
They're so
like
good.
Straight up, like no other reason, but because of the chemistry between those 2 characters, like was just amazing. And I followed their storyline. And when that was done, I was done with NCIS. Like that I had 0 reason to watch it anymore. And I mean, no disrespect to anybody else. It just wasn't like I had other storytelling forms that I was going for, So I'm really excited to hear about that.
You're gonna love it. It's so good. It's so fun.
Is she finally pronouncing her words correctly? But she's been mispronounced words all the time on NCIS.
Who's Ziva?
Ziva, yeah.
Ziva.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Because she's from Israel and
right. Yeah. I'm trying to think if that came up. I shot mine a year ago in Budapest.
Budapest.
They were great. I'd worked with Michael Weatherly on Bull, so it was really to reconnect with him, and their chemistry is amazing. They're so lovely. They're so happy to be there. And it was a really fun show. You are going to love this show.
I cannot wait. So is there anything else that you want to let us know, that you can let us know about, that we should be looking out for?
Let's see. So my episodes, I did the 3rd and 4th of that. So the third episode will drop with the premiere. So they're dropping 3 on September 4th.
Oh, nice.
And a week
That's
later,
next week. Okay.
Yes, it's next week already. I can't believe it. And then I have a movie that I am currently trying to set up. It's an autobiographical, semi-autobiographical movie about a ballerina, and it's called Dancing Dads, because I have a daughter who dances in Munich.
Oh, wow.
It is very charming. It's kind of like Meet the Parents, and it's really, really fun. So send me good vibes.
Yes, we will. Oh my God, that sounds really cool.
What did you say?
She said good. What'd you say, Fran?
Good vibes.
Good vibes sent. Thank you, Fran. Thank you. Receive.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool. We wish you all the best, because everything that you're producing in this world is helping us and making this world a better place. And I love the fact that there's intention behind your art and behind your craft. and we're so delighted that you decided that you wanted to come talk to us.
I know.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so happy you asked. And this has been a fabulous conversation. I don't want to stop talking to you
I
guys.
know.
I hope we get to do it again.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Anytime. Please, let us know when you want to come back. Like anything you got, we will be happy to have you back. And I know folks are going to really be excited when they finally get to listen to this because, you are now part of a huge part of the Star Trek family. And, once we get you, we never let you go. Did they tell you, they hope they prepared you enough for that?
They didn't, but I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Well, yeah, we got to see you at conventions and stuff now, too.
How do I get to go? I'd love to go. How do I do that?
Yvette will let you know. Yvette will they gotta be. All we got to do is start telling the people. Look, do you know who this lady is?
They have some of the best panels with the directors of Star Trek. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
David Livingston and all of them. Yeah, they have these great panels. I mean, it's like the conventions are great because everybody wants to talk to the directors.
Oh, I love it
all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, so Sabrina, if people have their thoughts that they want to send about Valerie's amazing episodes of Star Trek or anything else that they want to tell us about, how can people reach us?
You can find us at SyFySistas.com. That's SyFySistas.com. Join us on the mothership. That's MUTHASHIP. And the SyFy Sistas Book Club, the aforementioned book club, both on Facebook. On Instagram, we are sci-fi.sisters, and on Blue Sky at sci-fi-sisters.bsky.social. For more interviews, the live show, and our infamous Top 10 series, subscribe to our YouTube channel at SyFy Sisters, Inc. Become a patron of SyFy Sistas today at patreon.com/SyFy Sistas. The Trek Geek Network's presenting sponsor is Fansets. Go to fansets.com for pins, memorabilia from all your favorite franchises. Visit fansets.com and use Trek Geeks, that's TREKGEEKS, all caps, for an exclusive 10% discounts. Our friends at Stranger Comics, the best in fantasy comics, invite our listeners to visit strangercomics.com and at SF and use, drop the E off of that, and use SFS to receive an exclusive 10% discount. After listening to this podcast, please rate us and leave a review. We just may read it on an upcoming episode.
And last but not least, I need to thank the most amazing associate producers anywhere in the world. Thank you, Karen Germera, Stephanie Baker, and Sailor Marge for being the wind beneath our wings. We love you guys so much, and we are out of here. Thanks, Valerie. Thanks, sisters. Peace, love, and hair grease.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Sister Tamia here with the shorty shoutouts for this month. We'd like to thank the following patrons for your support. Frankie Dawn Engelbert, Jay-Z, Pranakasha, Daryl Lockhart, Janet K. Harlow, Eric, Lamaya Lancaster, Allie Ashmead, B. No, Tara, Cleo Townsend, Sandra Aponte, Lenny, Oils Galore, Michael Stakem, Allison Leach Hyde, Mike and Kristen Holton, Ayana May Tom, Casey Shafsky, Brad DeMag, Mike Nauer, Cassandra, Bruce McMillan, LJ, Tara Jefferson, Bernadette Garcia Galvez, Rhonda G, Rita Poussaint Nethersole, Bill Erickson, Zakia Graham, Linda Anderegg, Jeffrey Cochran, Old Klein, Peter Heisler, Olga Kravchuk, TJ Jackson Bay, Liza Albright, Kaylia Zawaki, Stephanie Baker, Sailor Marge, Stephanie Dole, Jamal Taylor, Scott Jensen, Ann Bradley, L.M., Dave A. Gregory, Eve England, Dafid Balston, Karen Dramera, Sue K., Muhammad Noor, Susan V. Gruner, and Anna Post. Thank you all so much. We love you.